all right, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I want to, in a very special way, thank you for constantly viewing my channel and sharing to friends and family and well wishers. Please, if you are new to this my channel, please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell as we'll be starting another different phase of graphics entirely. I believe those following us should be able to have known what all these toolbox is all about and their uses. I reminded us in our last class that the next class we'll be having is that of color class. If you really want to know what this corridor is all about, you can as well go back to my channel and start from the beginning. I'll be teaching us henceforth as people who have known the basic knowledge of the corridor itself and those and as people who have actually mastered the toolbox. I told us that the toolbox is one of the most important active bar in CorelDraw. So I believe I've been able to explore them one after another, and I believe we must have practiced it. So today we'll be doing color class. I want us to pay more attention in color class. Henceforth, we'll be doing design as the case may be. We'll be doing design as the case may be. Just do well to pay attention and ask questions. Drop your comments if you have any, and I will respond as soon as I can. Today I told us we'll be having the color class. Of course, we have color class, right? Today our class is color class, and we have two types of color. We have the CYMK and we have the RGB. Now, it will interest us to know that these are the two basic colors we have in graphics. Okay, now I want to take time to explain this color to us, when they are to use it and what they are used for, what this abbreviation is used for, the full meaning of this abbreviation. Okay, now today we reminded on the cost of our class. Now today on the cost of our class, our previous class we've been having before now, I reminded us that as time goes on, I will explain to us what these colors are all about. Now, someone will ask the question, why is this color here and this one is here? It's a very simple thing to know that I did something here the other day that I removed the color from where it is. Okay, we're having CYMK, and let me remove this color so that you see the difference. And we're having RGB palette, right? And CYMK palette. Now I'll be explaining these two. If I happen to put it at the same place, of course it will not confuse we that we have been used to the CorelDraw, but some new people it may actually confuse them, and that is why I deem it fit to always separate the CMYK color from that of RGB color so that we'll get it and get it very clear. Now in design, for those who do design, sometimes you hear clients telling you, I need the red to come out very sharp. Some people will tell you, I need normal red. Of course, in design they have normal red and they have what they call fire red. Now this is CMYK. Let me explain. Let me just use red to explain before I will now come back to this abbreviation. Now we have red. Of course, this is red. Okay, now when we ask that question, why is this M and Y on 100? It means that when you bring the M color and the Y color, what is it? Of course, we have the CMYK. Now let me just tell us what it means. C stands for cyan, all right, and Y stands for yellow. Okay, and M stands for magenta. Why the CYMK, I mean, why the K stand for black, right? So this C stand for cyan. This is cyan. This is cyan color. That is sky blue color. Yellow. This is yellow here. Point and you see it Like I told us, one interesting aspect of this corridor is that once you point, it will tell you the color they make to get that. And this magenta is the red. Of course, it's seen as pink here. Now you see under the magenta, okay, which is see that the time is 100. So that means nothing was made to get this. And for yellow to the same, nothing was made to get this yellow. And for sky blue, which is the cyan, nothing was mixed to get the cyan. And of course, the black, of course, too, nothing was mixed to get the black, which is what you're seeing. Now, let me explore more on this. Before that, we have the RGB. RGB stands for red, green, and blue. Okay, normal red, green, and blue, you know. Okay, normal red. Okay, normal green. Okay, let me just, yeah, normal green. Yeah, this is the green, and normal blue. Where do we have our blue? This is the blue. Okay, now let me explain this more. Now, I was talking about giving red and fire red. I told us when a client need a very sharp red, and you end up telling you I need a very sharp red. I don't need the red to be dull. I need a very sharp red. A client will tell you that he or she needs a very sharp red. I don't need the red to be dull. It means as you are advancing in this graphics, you get to be knowing things. Now, if I click on this red under this CMYK, you see the way the red is here. And if I apply that of RGB red, you discover that there is a difference. Okay, this red is for CYMK, right? And this red is for RGB. Now you discover that this RGB red is sharper than the CMYK red. Yet they are both reds. Okay, the both of them are red, but one is sharper than one. Now what he's trying to tell you now is that the same thing is applicable on black. Okay, if I have black, now this is ordinary black for CMYK, and this is black for RGB. You discover that this black is sharper than this. Now to explain this in a very summary form is that basically, as a graphic artist, of course, before you can publish a printing work, or before you can publish a book, or before you can print a flyer or a magazine, or just name it, anything that has to do with printing and publishing, the first stage you do is to go to a good graphic artist to give you what you want, okay, to give you a very good design. And after the design, you now go to the next stage. Now there's what they call process printing. Process printing is where, in a situation whereby they have a printing press, that everything that has to do with printing is there, starting from the company having a graphic artist, then having people who will transfer the design into a plate, and they call them lithographers. And after that, um they will now give it to those who print in a big machine. They call them operators. Okay, operators, they have different types of machine. We have the 201 that prints A4. We have the um GTO that prints A3. We have the cord, the one that prints A2, and we have the Speedmaster, the one that prints four color, and co. Just name it. There are more. There are plenty of them. And now it will interest you to know that more of graphics people, in terms of process printing, they usually use CYMK in designs. In terms of process printing, they usually use CYMK for designs, while anything that has to do with bigger machine, like that of Speedmaster, the one that prints six colors or four colors at the same time, you see most graphic artists use RGB, even though they still mix it up with CMYK colors. Okay, what it means is that now there is another advanced technology that is out that is called DI. Okay, it's called DI, and the DI stands for direct image. Okay, it stands for direct image. Okay, what this DI stands for is once a graphic artist finish designing be it post or anything, okay, there is a shorter form in which a client can get his or her printing in less than 2 minutes. Of course, that is big machine. They call it DI machine. That is direct image, just like a printer, normal printer in an office. But in this form is a bigger form of printer they use in printing. They call it direct image. That is DI print. But the disadvantage of this DI print is, let's assume you are to print a process printing work of 1,000 copy of, let's say, a magazine. If they are charging you for 1,000 for 1,000 copy, or let's say if they are charging you 2,000 naira per copy in process printing, which will take for some days before it will get to the owner, you will discover that when you want to use the direct image, that you can take it immediately. If this process printing will be 2,000 per copy, automatically the direct image printing will be times two of what, even times four, sometimes even times five of what the CMYK will give you. The only disadvantage of the process printing is that it takes time, but the direct image you just collect it there and then. Now, why did I bring this direct image? I'm bringing it for us to know exactly, to understand what this CMYK and this RGB is all about. Now, in terms of doing design as a graphic artist, okay, if you are using direct image to print, you're not using process printing to print. That is, you're not using big machine to print. And if you're using direct image in printing after design, any graphic artist can apply either CMYK or can apply RGB in his or her design, and the direct image will give you exactly what you've designed. Okay, you don't need to do any function, you don't need to do anything at all in the colors. Okay, yours is just finish designing, send to the printer, and the printer will give you the direct image. That is why it's called direct image. Means exactly what you design is what you see outside once it's been printed out. Okay, but in a situation where you're doing a process printing, basically process printing, that is after design you put on lithogra, you give to people that will put it on plates, then from plates they will give to those who print in big machines. Now, it will interest you to know that basically it is cyan, yellow, magenta, and black. That is this CMYK color, which is by the right hand side of this my CorelDraw application that we use basically. Now, it does not mean that you can use RGB, but then there is a function. There is something you need to apply in order to make use of this RGB while designing for process printing. That is, process printing means like a press, like a company that has complete machines on printing, okay, without them going through DI image, that is DI print, because DI print is usually expensive. So they go for big machine that can reduce their money in terms of printing, meaning that RGB can be used both in big machines. Okay, you can still use it both in big machine. Like I told us, there is a function we need to activate, or there is something we need to do whenever we make use of these RGB palette colors. In a situation whereby I end up picking this rectangle, and let's assume this is a color, right? Now it will interest you to know that some colors you find in this RGB, you can never find it in CMYK. Now watch what happens in this green. Okay, we have normal Nigerian green, and we have another lighter green. But the thing now is, what if we need a very lighter green more than what we're seeing here? There is nothing you can do. If you want to see more color, if you want to see more color, press and hold, and the color will be explored, and you discover that nothing, that is, you're not seeing a lighter green other than what you see you have here. So that is one disadvantage of this CMYK. Okay, now that is where this RGB comes in. I have this green and I need lighter green, more lighter green. Do you see a very light green? Like, do you see what we have in here? You see what we have in here? Let's assume this is the kind of green I need in my process printing design. Okay, without using direct image to print after the design. Okay, now normally I told us if we are using RGB colors for CMYK, there is something we need to do after applying the color. Okay, now if you watch, agree with me that this color you can't find it in this CMYK. In this situation now, I'm still on my design, I'm still doing my design. What then is that thing I need to do if I am to apply RGB color for CMYK? It's a very simple thing. Of course, if I want to remove this outline for this rectangle, I'll just go where we have this, any of this white box that has one red line across it. Okay, you remove, you can still see it on RGB palette. Now what you need to do now is, if you end up printing this, if what I want to show you now, anytime you apply RGB color for CMYK design or for process printing design, okay, if you apply RGB color without doing what I want to do now, it will interest you to know that you may end up printing a magazine or anything, flyer, anything printing, and this color you are seeing may turn to something like this at the end of the printing, or it may even turn to something like this at the end of the printing, and the client will end up complaining simply because he or she have chosen the color he or she wants. Okay, and maybe the person have the color code. And one interesting aspect of this RGB is that it has color code. Look at it. Let me adjust this so I see it has color code here. If I double click here, and it will bring us to more colors, right? You discover that this RGB color, look at the RGB colors, that is the color code, and this is the CMYK, the color code. But then when you give it 14 for the cyan and give 37 for yellow, it can never give you this color. Okay, it can never give you this color, right? Now for those who are using advanced graphic softwares, like I told us, as time goes on we'll be advancing. Okay, and design have stage by stage. If you are following me and you come to understand this corridor very well, you don't even need any other person to teach you any advanced graphic software like Photoshop, Illustrator and co. Once you get what I'm teaching us here now, you will discover that you can work on any graphics application on your own with the experience you've gotten from me. So like I said, whenever you apply RGB, you discover that there is a color code. This you're seeing is a color code. In some advanced company, when they have chosen their color, sometimes as a graphic artist, what they do to us is they send us the color code. Only what we need to do is, once we draw an empty box, we only copy that color code and double click here, then come direct where we have different colors. Then I'll go to the color model and change it from CMYK to RGB. What I need to do is to paste the color code here. Once I click on OK, let's assume this is the color they want. Okay, and we don't know about it before now. Okay, we don't know about it before now, and I copied this. Now I've copied it, right? Now I've drawn a fresh box, no color on it. Once they've sent me the color code, and I happens to come to my color where I can give different colors. What I need to do is to go to more colors, then change the color mode to RGB, then come here, erase the one that is there and paste the new one that we have. Once I click on OK, the color comes exactly the way it is. Okay, so that is what we have. Now back to what I was saying. Please, if you are new to my channel, click on the like button, comment, subscribe and turn on the notification bell for subsequent videos. Now that function, now that command I want every graphic artist to be doing whenever they use RGB colors on normal process printing design or normal process printing, book publishing on anything, they need to come to bitmap. Please pay attention to this. If you don't bitmap a color, an RGB color for process printing design, it will give you a different color entirely. What I want to show us here now will be applicable to pictures. You discover that some clients will give you a very sharp pictures, and at the end of the day, after the design and the printing, you see the picture becoming totally different thing from what they gave. Simply, they never apply this command I want to do. So the question now is, what is the command? After giving the RGB color, of course, this is the RGB color. What you need to do is to go to bitmap. I told us as time goes on, I'll be relating all these menu bars as we are advancing our class. And now, of course, we are now advancing. Of course, now we are now advancing in our class. So we'll be learning new things as the case may be. So once I click on the rectangle, I'll go to my bitmap, then click on convert to bitmap. Now watch what happens. It will bring you to where we have convert to bitmap. During our introductory class, I explained what DPI means. That is dot per inch. When a printer is printing out a particular image or printing work, you discover that it is dot something that the something picks. So that is what makes up that printing that the printer has printed. So now by default, the resolution will be 300 dots per inch, that is DPI. This one now means if you reduce the size from here, you can type anything inside here. Automatically, the more you reduce the resolution, the more dull this will be. And the higher you increase the resolution, the sharper the image will be. It can be applied, it can be applicable both on background or in a picture. Okay. Once I come there, make sure the resolution is up to 300 dpi. Then of course I gave RGB color, not CMYK. So I'll come to the color mode and change it to RGB, right? And make sure these are options, the two options are marked. Okay, this anti-aliasing and transparent background, make sure these two things are marked and you click on OK. By doing this, you have already locked this color, meaning once you send it on a process printing, you always do this whenever you are done with all your designs. You check all the RGB colors, make sure you bitmap it, make sure you convert the colors to bitmap before you can now send for separation and before they can commence the printing. Same thing happens to picture. Let's assume I come here and I just I decide to get Nigerian president picture. Nigerian president, okay. Once I click on this very picture and I need this picture and I save it, okay. Once I save it, I'll go to where I saved the picture, okay, copy it and come back to this place and paste it. See what happens. Okay, now this is the picture, right? And let's assume before printing, of course I said you always bitmap a picture before you print, right? Once I click on bitmap and I decide to turn the resolution to 72 resolution, and of course it's on RGB. Once I click on OK, it will dull this picture after printing because of what? You have reduced the sharpness. But if you leave it at 300 dpi, the way it's supposed to be, and OK it, after printing you discover that it will remain the way the something is. So what am I saying in essence is, any design you are doing that will not be printed on direct image and you apply RGB color in it, please and please ensure you go to bitmap and convert it to bitmap and make sure the resolution is up to 300 and make sure you change the color mode to RGB before you strike OK. Of course, if you apply CMYK color, you don't need to convert, because CMYK color is what a process printing machine recognizes. Okay, CMYK is what a process printing machine recognizes. Of course, what most people use is G2O, 201, and that of COD. But now we are now advancing to bigger machine like Speedmaster. Okay, we are advancing to bigger machine that can even print 6 unit colors. So if you know what you are designing, we now go on COD, G2O, or 201. That is A4 machine, A3 machine, or A2 machine. Any machine you are using to print that is above A2 machine, that is an advanced machine, which is like Speedmaster. Okay, you don't need to bitmap the color before sending for printing, because what you give is an advanced process printing machine that is like direct image, but then is a process machine, but is exactly like direct image. Okay, and people who uses that, of course, there are big firms, big printing press that uses that. All right, so what I always usually do now is, if I'm not printing with A4 paper, A4 machine, if I'm not printing with A4 machine, which is 201, A3 machine, which is G2O, or A2 machine, which is COD. Of course, any advanced printing machine, I don't need to do this command. Okay, I don't need to do this command on color. But if it is anything that has to do with image, someone's picture, please always bitmap any picture before sending for printing. Even on DI, always bitmap people's picture. Okay, please, if you are new to this channel, please do well to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Now, another question one we ask here now is, how then do you bring out this color when it's missing? Now, I think I've removed it where it's supposed to be, and let me close the two. And sometimes you open your CorelDraw application, you discover that the two colors, of course, this one is they call it document palette. Let me equally close this one too, because the interesting aspect of this is, once you start design in a particular file, any color you choose will just be there default. Subsequently, if you need that color, you don't need to go back to either RGB or CMYK to apply the color. Document palette will bring out the color for you. Remember, I was choosing all these colors on the cost of our training, and these colors have come to stay in as much as this particular file is concerned. But when I open new file now, let's assume I open new file entirely, you discover that the document palette will not have any color, because I've not done anything, I've not applied any color. Okay, so that is that for that one. But I still need to close this document palette so that we get it clear. Now you see we don't have any color here. Now, how do you find your color? The way I showed us how to bring back active bars in CorelDraw is the same way I'll be showing us how to bring back the two colors we have, which is CMYK and RGB. So what you just need to do is to go to Windows. Okay, you point down to your color palette. Of course, you go to your recent, you see the two color. We have that of CMYK, it has appeared. You click anywhere here, drag it in, left click, hold, and drag it inside. Once it shows something like this, leave it. That means it has positioned herself where it's supposed to be. You go back to the Windows, go to the next color, go to the color recent, then click on the RGB. Of course, this is the RGB. You can just drag it down. Of course, this is the RGB. You can just drag it down, and once you show something like this, leave it. It means it has fit where it's supposed to be. Now the next one is the document. You need that of document palette, because it is as important as anything. Once I apply any color applying on a document, it will be showing, meaning I don't need to be, now I chose this light green color. If I need it again, I don't need to come through the RGB to begin to choose that light document. It is already there. It's just there in the document palette. What the document palette does is, it stores any chosen color you've an individual, it stores any chosen color you've chosen. And the use of the document palette is this: it stores any color one has chosen while doing design. It will just store it in as much as that particular file is concerned, so that you cannot go back or refer yourself back to the color palettes that you have. That is the two types of color you have. That is the RGB, okay, the RGB color and the CMYK. It will just store it. What you just need to do whenever you need it, you just go there and pick the color. All right. Now it brings us to mixing other colors. Now, sometimes you agree with me that graphic artist is one of the key important um departments in terms of printing and publishing, because anything a graphic artist, one, they can give you a work that worth millions, okay, for you to come up with and print. And if the design is not unique in the eyes, you discover that no matter any amount you spend, the work will not be as good as what even you yourself who designed it may want it to be. What am I saying in essence is this? Okay, now you need to choose the colors you use in terms of design, how to blend your colors. Of course, I told us in our previous class that there are three things they use in knowing good graphic artists. Okay, now the font style you use. Okay, I told us about that. And you don't use more than three fonts in a particular design. You don't pack more than three types of font styles in a design. It doesn't make you professional. Okay, now your text arrangement matters, how you place your text. Some designs you see it very crowded, of course with a very little information, but the way the arrangement is will just be something else. And the one that most people have issues with is that of color combination. You need to learn colors, how to combine colors in a design, and you need to keep your design simple, straight and unique. Okay, just hit the nail on the head and go straight to the point, and minimize more on how you use backgrounds. Create your own background, that is, create your own shapes and make it to be a background. That is what makes a good graphic artist. Now you discover that when we are applying this cyan, yellow, magenta and black, they were just showing 100. Now let's see normal Nigerian green color, which is this. You discover that they mix. When you bring 5 spoon, now you discover that the C and the Y is 100. It means any measurement you take from the cyan is the same measurement you take for yellow to give you normal Nigerian green color. So what it's telling you in essence is, if you want to practicalize it, bring these four colors, okay, and find a very empty container, carry 2 spoon of cyan, right, and carry 2 spoon of yellow, mix the two, and it will give you this green. So same thing happens to the remaining ones. Orange now, the magenta is 60%, while the yellow is 100%. It means that when you take 5 spoon from the magenta, you only need to take 3 spoon from the yellow, and it will give you this orange. Okay, it will give you this orange. So that is exactly what this CMYK, right, is. M comes before the Y. So that is exactly what the CMYK colors is all about. It will still help you to know how to mix colors to get a particular color that you need. Remember, I told us that what we will be having today as class is color class, and the two types of colors we have, which is the CMYK and the RGB. When to apply CMYK? Of course, in every of our design, we can always apply CMYK, but only when we are to apply the RGBs, whenever we are using an advanced machine like Speedmaster and above, or we are printing on direct image. Okay, and in other graphic softwares like Photoshop, Illustrators and co, basically you'll be seeing the default color as RGB. You will not see it as CMYK. Okay, you'll be seeing it as RGB, but of course you can still go to the color palette and decide to change. But most advanced separation machines, that is machine that puts it inside plate before they can now give those that print, before they can now give operators to print, automatically the machine recognizes CMYK like that of A4, A3 and A2 machine, like the chord, the G2 and the 201. They recognize CMYK, but like this Speedmaster and Co, they recognize both CMYK and RGB, so you don't have issues. But in a situation whereby you are working in a firm that uses chord, which is A2 machine to print, or A3 which is G2, or A4 which is 201 machine to print, you always be mindful of making use of your RGB and what you need to do after making use of the RGB color. So I still want to thank you in a very special way for constantly viewing my channel. Please, if you have any question, do well to drop your question and I will respond as soon as possible. Thank you once more for joining me in today's online training. See you in my next video and have a blessed day ahead. Bye.